Excellent. So nice to see so many of you tuning in for this webinar today. I am joined by Kim Nixon, who is the COO of Chobe Holdings, a company which owns Ker Downey and then a few other companies within Botswana. We are going to be presenting the Ker Downey Botswana portfolio to you today, alongside some news and some changes that are coming, which is very exciting. I will be handing over to Kim in a few minutes, just to let you know that the presentation will be recorded. So if you have to jump off at any point, you will be getting sent a recording in the next couple of days. And alongside that, we'll be sending everything that you could possibly need to sell Ker Downey. We will also be answering questions at the end of the webinar. So if you could pop any questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to those at the end. We'll be asking Kim those questions then. But Kim, I'll pass over to you, and I will mute myself, and you'll never know I'm here.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so lovely to have all of you on this presentation, and greetings from a very, very chilly Maun in Botswana, where this morning it was nearly freezing. That cold front from Cape Town has reached Botswana, and unfortunately my geezer decided to pack up this morning. So I'll dive straight into the presentation, and I look forward to questions at the end. Just to give you a little background of myself, I arrived in Botswana a mere 33 years ago, and I guided for a period of 12 years and managed lodges and camps for a significant period of time after that. I have a deep passion for why systems function the way that they do. And so the way that this presentation has been put together is in such a way to give you a really good overview of why these areas are as productive as they are, why they're so special, and how different they are from each other, which allows you then to very easily combine them with ease to ensure that your guests have a diverse, wildlife-rich experience. So one of the three core facets that separate Ker Downey from many within northern Botswana is that we are very specific about where we operate and the concessions that we're operating within. So to summarize our ethos, we're very rare in the fact that these wilderness areas are scarce and becoming more and more scarce in a more and more crowded world. The experiences that we offer for guests out of camp are raw. We don't interfere with the management of our land. We don't interfere with the wildlife on the properties or within the wildlife areas. And as a result of that, sightings that guests get to experience and are lucky enough to encounter are through the sheer determination of tracking and then nature unfolding as nature is intended. Sometimes it's incredibly beautiful, like the image that's taken over here from one of our sleep out platforms. And sometimes it's a very visceral experience when you do get to see something such as a kill. In the camps itself, we pride ourselves on our very refined experiences. We have great cuisine, fantastic wines, warm, friendly, generous hospitality and staff who have all come through the ranks and been trained through the business. Our guides are very well experienced and trained in northern Botswana. One of the key factors that make us really stand out in Botswana is the fact that every single one of our guides are walking qualified guides. What that generally means is that our guides have been very well trained and have been spending years of time in the actual bush itself. To be a walking qualified guide, you need extra qualifications. But what it means for the guests is that they get exposed to a guide who has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. They're storytellers, they've got good sense of humors, and all of them are actually photographically trained to ensure that our guests get the type of imagery that they would like whenever they are in the sighting. So looking at Ker Downey a little bit more closely and where we operate in two primary areas of interest for your guests. The first is in the Kalahari Desert, just north of the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. We have a private wildlife estate and reserve over there called Dinaka. I'll talk about that first in terms of the camps we talk about. And then secondly, we operate within the Okavango Delta the World Heritage Site, the 1000th World Heritage Site of the world in northern Botswana. And in the Okavango Delta, we are very fortunate to actually operate 4 camps currently. There is a 5th camp, which is in the very north of your screen, called Maxa, a camp that's going to be opening on the 20th of March next year. I'll talk about that a little later as well. We're very proud of the fact that our experiences are conducted primarily in private areas, exclusive areas, where guests have the freedom of movement in the concessions, as well as in the private conservancies, which allow for off-road access to premium wildlife sightings. We do also have one lodge inside the Moremi Game Reserve, which is the crown jewel of the Okavango Delta's conservation crown, at a place called Kanana, and that camp is called Okuti. When you look at Ker Downey in terms of the lodges, our lodges have all been intentionally built. They're very small and intimate. They only have between 5 and 9 rooms. And the way that we try to construct these lodges is in such a way as to invite the wilderness from outside inside your room. And what that means is that the rooms are most, in fact, all built out of canvas and gauze, which allows for you to hear the night sounds. It allows for you to hear a lion if they're walking across a floodplain roaring, hippo squelching through mud, and the various night sounds and daytime sounds as well of the areas itself. Unlike South Africa, where South Africa have got a lot of brick and mortar type lodges, our lodges bring people closer to nature, which is what we believe they come here to experience. Our decor is focused on vintage style decor and furniture with an old world charm. So you can imagine rich leathers, cottons, canvas, teak type decking. We do have a high focus on value for money, even though these areas are in prime wilderness areas in the most remote reaches of northern Botswana. Our rates are very fair, and they shift between a rack rate of $850 in the summer season to our most expensive camp, which is Shinde in the peak season, which is at $1,550 per person per night sharing. Other lodges of ours range in price between $1,100 and $1,250 in peak season, representing really good value for money. Just in terms of the style of the camps, as I mentioned, you can see this type of comfort. This is one of the lounges that is in a camp called Shinde. We'll talk about that later. This again is at Shinde. Wonderful private outdoor dining options. We love to do this under the stars for guests. We're very blessed with an unpolluted sky, and it really is something that allows for people to enjoy family-style dining. It brings us closer and allows for us to enjoy a good conversation talking about the sightings of the day. Guests that are here on honeymoon and anniversary and birthdays, we can obviously arrange for private dining options with pleasure in the guest rooms. And then we have a variety of other hideout areas where we can set up private dining for guests. As long as we know in advance from yourselves, it's very easy to curate. This is an example of one of the rooms. And what you'll see in the presentation ahead is that each of the camps have got its own style and flair and feel to each and every one of the rooms. This room in particular is at Shinde, and what you can see is that the roof structure over here, for example, is canvas. Some of our other camps are actually out of thatch. When it comes down to the range of activities possible in northern Botswana, every single one that your guest could possibly be interested in, we do have covered, whether it is cultural experiences with guided walks with the Bushman people down in the Kalahari, specialized birding safaris, and I'll talk about a heronry in one of our concessions a little later, a place where thousands upon thousands of aquatic bird species come to nest every year. Our activities are both by land and by water. Whether we talk about land activities, we talk about game drives by day and by night, guided walks with guides carrying rifles, and then water excursions are primarily focused on deep water channel boat cruising and canoeing experience, which traditionally here is known as a makoro, and then seasonally fishing excursions as well. We've got a couple of concessions where we're very blessed with some of the largest and most aggressive tiger fish in Botswana. We've got great family rooms in all of our camps, Guests who wish to have a scenic flight can do so with the doors off on the Robbie R44 helicopter. And then in the Kalahari, as well as in other areas, we have sleep out platforms, as well as bunkers and hides where guests might want to go and enjoy low-level photography or eye-to-eye viewing with a predator. Our preferred carrier in terms of moving our guests around northern Botswana is Safari Air. The company is blessed with a variety of different types of aircraft. They've got Cessna Grand Caravans, which comfortably take up to 10 guests, as well as air vans, which comfortably take guests up to 5. And each guest is entitled to carry a 20-kilogram luggage with them. Looking at the camps itself, you can see, if you look in the center of your screen at a camp called Gray's Eden over there, the first thing to say is Gray's Eden is located in Maun, which is your primary access point into northern Botswana from the south. Your access point into Botswana from the north is a camp called, a town called Kasane, which you can see up on the top of the screen, just to the left top of the Ker Downey Botswana logo. And that's the primary entry points into Botswana. A flight from Maun into the Okavango Delta to Kanana and Okuti ranges between 20 and 30 minutes. It's a little bit further to get to the northern camps of Shinde, which would be around about 30 to 35 minutes. And if you're coming from Kasane, then the duration of flying can be around about 45 minutes to an hour itself. The flight from Maun down to Kalahari Desert at Dinaka camp, that is about 45 minutes in duration itself. So while it looks so close for you to travel between the main towns, the access towns, and into the camps, and it looks quite close, while it is quite close in kilometers, it's actually very difficult to get to. Either the roads are horrendous or there's a lot of water in the way. And for that reason, we fly. So moving into the Kalahari Desert itself, and at a place called Dinaka, in the top of your screen, you'll see the town called Maun. You would fly 45 minutes southward to get to Dinaka. This farm itself is about 35,000 hectares in extent, which roughly translates into about 86,500 acres if you're in the UK. So it is a seriously large piece of land. It is exclusive for only 24 guests, and it truly is one of the most quintessential Kalahari habitats you can find in northern Botswana. There are ancient dunes, ancient pans, and then old petrified riverbeds itself. This diversity of habitat is what combines to allow for prolific desert wildlife, which, believe it or not, includes the black-maned Kalahari lions, and then we're very fortunate to have white rhino in this reserve as well. In the near future, we will also be releasing 11 black rhino, which will make this reserve the only reserve in northern Botswana that will have both white and black rhino itself. And that is a really key, unique selling point. But looking at the habitat, you can see immediately here that you are talking about arid landscapes. This is an oryx in an open panfelt area in the summer months. And these are the black-maned lions that you get in this area. I do love this photograph because it's our domestic cats sometimes have these eyes that are of different colors. And this chap in the Kalahari is quite famous because he's got one golden orb and then he's got a greenish orb on the other side. So very beautiful cat. Very good habitat for leopard. Leopard love this mixed mosaic of habitats. So they're quite frequent in the area. And cheetah are also very frequent in the area. What's really lovely about this part of the Kalahari is that we've got a variety of pumped water holes and then a variety of sunken hides. And one of the firm favorite activities for guests in this area is to go to these sunken hides, especially in the late morning and then again in the early to late afternoon, because that's when a lot of the wildlife comes down to drink. It really does make for incredible photography when you're at this low level, and you're able to really come across some epic scenes. Big herds of zebra and eland coming in to drink. Wildebeest also come in a lot to drink at these water holes. And there's a whole variety of small little critters that come in to drink as well. This is a little slender mongoose that's busy having a look at somebody's camera lens. And this is a wonderful oryx image which is taken in the rich dusk that we so often enjoy down in the Kalahari Desert. This red color comes from a lot of the dust in the atmosphere itself. But for those who love birding, again, this is a wonderful place, and you're able to get a variety of different bird species, especially if you enjoy our feathered friends. Some special experiences that I really love about the Kalahari, and the reason I put this photograph in here is because the first thing you can see is that there are endless skies in the Kalahari, and there is absolutely no pollution in the Kalahari. So something that I think most guests are starved of from where they come, wherever they come from, any urbanized place is starved from any starlight. And the Kalahari is possibly one of the finest areas to observe stars. And guests love coming here to have sleep outs, especially the more adventurous guests. You're able to sleep under the stars, enjoy an uninterrupted view of the skies, watch the shooting stars, and truly be confused about how many constellations there are. There are so many stars. The other thing that I really like about this is it's a very alive type of experience. And the reason I say that is because if you can imagine a lion walking down the road, roaring as he comes past the hide over here, it makes for something that you will never, ever forget. And I never forget having the British High Commissioner to Botswana coming to stay in the Kalahari, and she slept out in one of these hides, and that was exactly what came back, what she experienced. And when she came back, she phoned me and she said, "Kim, that was the best experience of safari I've ever had. I had my own private guide, my own private vehicle, and my own private sightings and a private camp." So it really is a wonderful experience, and this is what it looks like when it's all bedecked. Another lovely thing to do down in the Kalahari, which really diversifies a guest experience, is to get out of the vehicle and get onto foot and go out with the Kalahari Bushmen. All of these staff in this area come from the Khansi region of central Botswana. They all come with an incredible knowledge of the Kalahari Desert, having grown up with their parents in the Kalahari Desert, and their knowledge of survival is quite exceptional. Whether it is teaching you how to make fire with a couple of sticks, whether it is making traps, whether it is some hunting techniques, and where the poison arrows actually come from, or is something as simple like on the left over here, where you can find water from root tubers under the ground. Incidentally, for anyone interested, that root tube is called a bee, the bee eye plant. Looking a little bit more at the lodge itself, you can see how comfortable the lodge is. Very open, very airy. You'll see that the roofing structure down here is intentionally built out of thatch, and the reason we do that is so that it's cooler. Lovely central pool over here, and then extremely comfortable rooms. This is a family room, and the family room has got the separate annex on the left-hand side of the room itself connected to the main room, so it's really suitable for young families. And then towards the right over there, just outside of the gauze window, is an outdoor shower. So shifting up into the Okavango Delta now, I want to just point out and try and visualize for a guest that you go from the wild first land of the Kalahari Desert, one of the oldest deserts in the world. You jump on your aeroplane after this magical desert experience, and then you fly northwards and you fly into the Okavango Delta. The Okuti camp, which is the first of the Delta camps I'm going to talk to you about, is located in the Kanana region. And looking a little bit more closely, you can see that it is located to the east of Chiefs Island itself, in an area called Kanana, Xakanaxa. Looking a little bit more closely at the Kanana region, and I put these satellite images in here intentionally so that you can understand why these areas are so incredible. One thing you'll notice here is that there's a series of very large lagoons and very large channels that feed into and get stuck up against the Kanana area. And why this is important is because water that is moving carries nutrients. But whenever it gets stuck up against a blockage, that's where the nutrients are actually dumped on the land area. And simply because of this nutrient dumping, you find that the vegetation in the area is firstly more perennial, it's more palatable, as in it's more tasty for the wildlife itself, and therefore more wildlife is actually attracted to the area. Because of the grazers and the browsers that come to this area, that attracts in turn a large number of predators. And it's for that very reason that Kanana at Camp Okuti is one of the areas in the Okavango Delta that has extremely high densities and high quality wildlife 365 days of the year. Looking a little bit more closely at Okuti, the actual design and architecture of the lodge resembles the parliament buildings of the country itself. Broad, expansive decks in the front overlook beautiful lagoons. And this is what the habitat actually looks like. So if you cast your mind back to the desert where we've just come from, imagine flying and being an hour later in this idyllic Garden of Eden with a variety of verdant green colors, trees, grasslands, and water surrounding you. It's a very impactful experience for guests. Once again, very diverse habitat. This is what we call Cathedral Mopani, which attracts a variety of wildlife, very productive for leopard actually in this Mopani woodland. And the area itself has got a high density of lion, a high density of leopard, and there's very good buffalo numbers. When you come across a nice big herd of buffalo like this, it's always good to skirt around the back of them and go around the other side, because you never know who might be following them. And this is one of the times where the lions actually were chased by the buffalo. That's an enormous, what we call dugger boy, male buffalo, huge big set of horns at the front over there. And he's chased this young male lion up a tree, and the lions are definitely going hungry. Kanana in this region is very good for boating. There are massive lagoons, and there are wonderful deep water boating channels as well. So the beauty about this area is that it allows for a combination of both game driving in the national park area, in one of the pristine biosphere zones of the national park area, superb wildlife, but it also allows for beautiful boating experiences as well. You are able to come across a variety of incredible animals as well. You come across Sitatunga, elephant grazing, hippo as well. This lagoon itself is called the Kanana Lagoon, which is just outside the front of Okuti camp itself. Once again, you know, we always come back to the birds. There are over 500 species of birds in Botswana. This is the African jacana, and believe it or not, that is the male African jacana. The ladies abscond, they run away. They lay the eggs for the males, and then they head off to another male. So this is a father with his two little young jacanas, and he's busy showing them the ropes. Okuti camp was completely refurbished at the beginning of this year. It's a very small, intimate camp. It takes up to 16 guests only, and it commands this wonderful view out over the floodplains. And these are the interiors of the rooms itself. Really comfortable, and a very beautiful lodge itself. So moving across to our next camp, we're now going to talk about Kanana camp, which is just above the Okavango Delta name on the Okavango map over there. From Mount Kanana is approximately a 20-minute flight. And looking again on the map itself, you'll see that Kanana is located in a private concession to the west of Chiefs Island. And it is an area where the Boro River channel actually flows most of the year, although it must be said that Kanana is seasonally inundated with water from the Okavango Delta, the water usually arriving at the beginning of June. It is a superb location for wildlife. And what makes this area so incredible for wildlife is that 30 to 60 centimeters under the ground, you have what is known as peat, which is the substance that is before coal. It's ancient plants that have biodegraded and sunk to the bottom of water channels and then eventually get compacted and become peat. It's extremely nutritious, and it means that the grasses here, as well as the trees and the browse, are very palatable, and it attracts incredible wildlife. I personally, having been in Botswana for 33 years, would rate Kanana as one of the top 3 game viewing concessions in all of Botswana. Looking at the habitat again, one of the things that you can notice already is that it has a very mixed mosaic of woodlands as well as open grasslands. This is looking at a floodplain from the main deck area of Kanana itself. And I just put this wonderful little series of photographs in here because they were taken a month ago, literally the week before the flood arrives. And generally when the flood arrives, you get this mist that comes rolling in the early mornings. And not long after the mist, a couple of days later, suddenly the first trickles of water start to trickle in. And within a few days, it's filled the floodplains and the wildlife comes back thick and fast. Eventually, after a couple of weeks, it becomes busier and busier. And because it becomes busier and the water is warmer, there's a lot of activity with insects moving and fish, etc., looking for the nutrients. It brings the crocodiles as well. There's a couple of crocs in this image. As soon as these waters arrive, the water sedges start to grow again. These are day lilies, and these day lilies are like sweets for elephants. They come from afar to come and enjoy them. But it is a time of plenty, and when the flood is in and everything has become green again, the wildlife is very jovial and very happy. As you can see, I love to say this, the wildlife in this image is fit, fat, and flourishing. Fantastic predators in the area, great lion, superb leopard. But because of the long sedges and the long grasses, it's also one of those areas in the Delta where if you've got somebody that really loves cats, you do get a very good chance to see one of the rarer cats, this being a serval. And this being an aardwolf, one of the rarer nocturnal species. A very special experience for guests, which happens throughout our peak season, begins at the beginning of July and comes to an end at the end of October. And what happens is when the flood comes in, there are these trees, which are called water syzygiums, which act as the perfect nesting ground for thousands upon thousands of birds that come in to enjoy peace and quiet during the peak of their nesting period. So it's an area where you will come across Pell's fishing owl, you'll come across a variety of different storks, a variety of different herons, and it is also one of the places where you have an incredibly large density of pelicans. The grey birds in this picture are marabou storks. They also come into nest. It's, as you can imagine, a cacophony of noise in the area, but it really is one of those incredibly important bird areas in northern Botswana that is located in our concession exclusive for our guests. So looking at the camp itself, Kanana has a U-shaped main area. This is the lounge on one side of camp. It all commands that incredible view out to the front that I showed you earlier on when I was showing you the picture of the flood coming in. And here you can see how different the rooms are again to Okuti and to Dinaka itself. Very rustic in its style, very vintage, but classically elegant. Kanana has an ensuite bathroom at the back. And this is another special experience that we have at Kanana. It's the sleep out hide as well. The guests that are adventurous again are able to go and do a sleep out and bathed in a blanket of stars like this. It truly is a wonderful experience that I couldn't encourage more for adventurous guests and any repeat customer that comes to Botswana. We're now going to be shifting north of the Chiefs Island area itself to a place called Shinde. And Shinde is located again in a private concession to the north of Chiefs Island. So what you can see, and what I've tried to make clear with these satellite images, is that our concessions are located, one in the western side of the Delta where the flood is seasonal, and two in the north where the water is perennial and they're all year round, meaning that you have incredible deep water channels at Shinde for boating. And then you've got the Kanana area where Okuti is, where you've got dry land game viewing as well as boating. This concession itself is extremely productive. You've basically got the main channels of the flowing Okavango Delta flowing this way. It's the Ngoka channel, which in our concession becomes known as the Moana Chira channel. To the north of the channel itself is actually dry land savanna, which makes this an incredibly good area for both wildlife, game viewing, as well as water. And nothing would show that better than showing you this image over here. This is the location of Shinde itself. You can see to the north behind the camp. This is the rangeland that I'm talking about. Wide open floodplains you see for miles on end. Green trees that are sausage trees, beautiful riverine woodlands, which, because of the diversity of habitat, mean incredibly diverse and productive wildlife viewing. You can see from this image over here, the size of the water channels itself. You're dwarfed in a landscape like this. It's a lovely concession, 24 guests only, and split between the two camps. This is a red letchery. You can see the length of his back legs over there. This guy is an aquatically adapted antelope. They love the fringes of the water, where the water meets the land, and their escape plan, if attacked, is into the deeper water where the predators struggle to go. Fabulous for game viewing, as I mentioned. Rich diversity of both plains game as well as browsing species that are in the riverine forests. And then in the deep water channels, you also have the chance to see the rarest of them all, the Sitatunga, a member of the Kudu family. Those great open plains that I showed you earlier on, very good for cheetah. We've got a wonderful cheetah mom there with 5 cubs at the moment. She's busy showing them the ropes. There are a couple of male cheetah walking around the area as well. Also a very good area for wild dog, who are currently denning. Once again, the camp is a really lovely camp. It's got a Robinson Crusoe treehouse type of feel to it. You can see in the middle of your image an elevated dining deck. There is also the lower deck where you can do family-style dining, camp-style dining with everybody together downstairs, and also a downstairs fireplace itself. It's looking out from that upstairs dining area. Magnificent views out onto the Okavango Delta itself. It really is a fantastic view and commands a very special view across that huge floodplain and lagoon. Into the rooms themselves, they're all very well appointed. This is our largest room itself, and each of the rooms are individually decorated. They've all got their own different style, flair, and theme to them. And you can see that this is the ensuite bathroom at the back. Interestingly, the shower and the wood paneling in the shower is teak, and that was repurposed timber from when we rebuilt the camp just 4 years ago. And a lovely outdoor shower as well. Moving across to Shinde Footsteps, which is located in the northwest of the concession itself. This is a very small, intimate camp. It's perfect for a young family of 6 to 8 guests at a time. It only has 4 rooms, very small, very intimate. It looks out onto this incredible area over here. And once again, has a really rich diversity of wildlife. So you're in this exclusive corner of the concession itself, all to yourself. Very good for wild dog in this area, extremely good for leopard, and also good for lions. So looking at the camp, it's separated. You have a separate little main lounge area, and then you have your private little fireplace and dining area in a separate annex, which is a few meters apart from each other. And it all has this wonderful view out over a lagoon in front of camp itself. Looking into the rooms itself, what's really lovely about these rooms is that they're landscaped, so they look directly out onto the actual lagoon itself. They're really well appointed. They've got a lovely outdoor shower, and then to the right of the bedroom there, you have a private toilet and private shower area. Looking back a little bit, that's the view from inside the bathroom looking out. And then that's what the room looks like from the front of the lagoon itself. There have been some really exciting new developments in Ker Downey, and there's still some more to come. The company is in the process of expanding. There's another couple of lodges that are joining us from the beginning of next year. And there's one small boutique luxury hotel that is joining Ker Downey from the beginning of August this year. Looking at this new Camp Maxa, as I mentioned earlier on, it's located in the northern part of the Okavango Delta, literally at the junction where the waters of the Okavango Delta slip into the Cylinder spillway before heading up into the Linyanti and Chobe Reserve itself. It's the place where the waters gather. It has a beautiful mosaic of open floodplains and lagoons, massive lagoons. And there are 5 tents that are being built. one with a family tent which can house 4 guests. It overlooks an incredibly large lagoon, which is actually the name of where the name of the camp itself comes from, called Maxa. I was up there recently, and there must have been about 60 to 75 odd hippo that were sitting in the lagoon in front. But it offers a wonderful diversity of activities: game drives, night drives, Makoro, walking safaris, coupled with tracking, seasonal fishing, and then obviously the helicopter scenic flights, which we are using from Shinde to access the camp. This will be the location of camp against the Maxa Lagoon itself. You can see in the background the wonderful habitats that you've got in this area. Massive marula trees, some of the biggest I've seen. The camp is located under this incredible ebony forest, this evergreen ebony forest, so it'll be really cool. It'll have you'll be surrounded by the noise of birds all day long in this place. Another couple of aerial images of the habitats itself. Beautiful, unexplored, virgin area of the Okavango Delta, yet to be explored. And for that very reason, you can't see any game drive roads anywhere in this area. It's never been explored before. These are the renders of the camp itself. So we're really going for a very rustic type of feel with the camp. It comes in at the same price as Shinde Footsteps in peak season, which is $1,100 per person per night sharing. But it is private and exclusive for 12 guests. In the main area, there is a huge termite mound, which the gents have dug out, and they've made an oven in the termite mound, and that's where your breads will be baked in front of the guests. There'll be this wonderful stretched canvas type of theme, and very rustic dining experiences. The rooms themselves, ensuite bathrooms, really comfortable, sliding doors in the front, wonderful expansive deck outside the front, all with a wonderful private view of the lagoon itself. Into Gray's Eden, this property has been built for the last 2 years, and the owners of the property have seen an opportunity to shift tourism and guests from being forced to overnight in Johannesburg, or for guests who have flown a long distance to have a night in Maun with fine dining, fine wines, impeccable service in a quiet rural setting, as opposed to being located in the noisy parts of Johannesburg before they go into the Delta camps or down into the desert itself. A very small camp. It only has 5 luxury villas and 7 spirited little cottages. This main area, which you see at the bottom left of your screen over here, is the restaurant, which has this wonderful view out on the Tamalakan River itself. This is looking at the restaurant and the actual rooms itself. The construction period has actually just come to an end, so everything that looks brown to you right now is actually green grass, and it's getting ready for its guests. There's a wonderful central pool that separates the cottages from the villas, and then the huge wooden doors that you see on the bottom left of your screen over here is a private dining area and a wine cellar for guests to enjoy some private dining. As you can see from the actual main area itself, really comfortable, lots of little private areas and nooks where guests can go and hide away and relax. There's 2 or 3 different lounge areas. On the opposite side of the main area is the bar area, and then looking at the walkways themselves and little features in the camp, this is Gray's Eden. We believe it'll be very popular for guests. The rack rate in peak season is $400 per person per night sharing in the villas, and I think $290 per person per night sharing in the actual cottages themselves. It is a very, very good idea for guests to relax for a night before they actually go in, especially if they've flown long distance. And that brings to a conclusion the presentation today. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope it was informative, and I look forward to answering any of your questions and more so down the line, your guests into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kim. That was brilliant. And really nice to get great overviews of the kind of the locations of all the camps and those satellite images as well. We've got a couple of questions. We had one question in the chat that I quickly answered. Bridget was asking if Maxa is exclusive use only, and I believe I have it correct that it will be sold on an FIT basis as well, but it does lend itself well to exclusive use also, of course.
Yeah, thanks for the question. You're right. It is open for FRT, but is obviously a great little camp if you want to do exclusive use.
Amazing. And then I've got a question from Laura. Do you offer road transfers from Maun to Okuti for guests that want to fly?
We don't offer regularly road transfers from Maun into Okuti. However, having said that, if there are guests that are scared of flying, we are obviously able to arrange for a road transfer. But I must say that if you do road transfer from Maun into Okuti, the time that it'll take you to get there is in and around 3 hours.
Okay, cool. Perry has asked, how close is Grays Eden to Maun Airport?
Sorry, I missed the question. Orla, what was that again?
Kerry has asked, how close is Grays Eden to Maun Airport?
10 minutes away. It's in a suburb called Matlapaneng, which is literally 10 minutes from the airport itself.
Amazing. Very convenient. Is there a reduction on the flights when you book through Safari Air?
Is there a reduction on the flights? So the pricing of Safari Air is on a net basis, and the reduction comes when you have long stay. So with any of our camps, if you spend 5 nights in a variety of camps, then your discount begins, and generally the discount is anywhere from around about 8%, depending on the duration of stay, all the way up to around about 17 to 18%, depending on the season and the number of nights that you're spending in the company itself. So that is far greater in terms of a discount than were we to put a discount on the flying itself. I hope that answers that.
Amazing. And then Chris has asked, are there swimming pools at the camps?
Yeah, so there's a central swimming pool in every single one of our camps, with the exception of Maxa. So we have swimming pools at Kanana, there's swimming pools at Shinde, there's the huge swimming pool at Grays Eden, and then there's one central pool down at Dinaka.
Amazing. Brilliant. Anonymous has also asked, do you serve venison at the lodges?
There is venison served from time to time in the lodges. It is obviously sustainably sourced, and it is usually either kudu or oryx, or from time to time impala. Amazing,
thank you. Awesome. Francis has said, great presentation and good to see you working with Ker Downey. He said, will water activities at Shinde Footsteps be at main Shinde in August?
Yes, the answer to that is most certainly yes. Although we have moved Makoros sufficiently to Shinde Footsteps so that the Makoro activity can be done directly from camp. So it would be only the boating done from Shinde main camp.
Okay, cool. Amazing. Perry has asked if road transfers will be included to and from Grays Eden.
Correct. Road transfers are included complimentary, and on a 2-night stay, there is also a 1-hour complimentary massage that is offered to guests as well. And then the last complimentary experience for guests at Grays Eden is every single night they have complimentary canapes and snacks at the Boma or in the restaurant area of the hotel itself.
Amazing, thank you. Katie has asked, what are the age restrictions at the various camps?
So we welcome guests from 6 years of age. Having said that, though, should you have families with guests who are younger than 6, we would require that guests firstly book a private vehicle, obviously, and secondly, that they sign an additional indemnity that they understand that the care of their children is their responsibility. They need to make sure that they're under their watch at all times. But it is possible. The only camp that I would be slightly cautious to accept guests at under the age of 6 would be at Dinaka, and that is because the predators are regularly in and around that reserve, and I'm a little bit cautious down there. I myself have a 7-year-old son. I take him down there, but I watch him like a hawk.
Yeah, they are very active around there. We've had some quite incredible photos sent through recently on the
Yes.
WhatsApp. Someone has asked which of the camps would be best suited for a family with kids between 10 to 13 in regards to child-friendly activities.
So I always go to, so all the activities are child-friendly, and I always go to where would you be able to get the richest diversity of experience so that the kids are constantly engaged. And so the three areas that I would most recommend for that would be Shinde, Kanana, as well as Dinaka. At Dinaka, you can do the walk with the Bushmen. My son absolutely loves that. And then at Shinde and Kanana, you've got the beauty of being able to go for nature walks, do night drives, do boat cruises, do Mokoros, as well as then your game drive. So it really does lend itself to keeping little minds busy.
Amazing, thank you. This is an interesting question, and I think can be quite divisive because I think internally as well between the teams. Fred has asked, which routing would you recommend when combining the Okavango and the Kalahari? Kalahari first or Okavango first?
So I had the pleasure of being able to guide in the Kalahari for 12 years of my life. So I spent a week out of every month for 12 years guiding in that place, and I love it. But the way I look at it is to say that the Kalahari you need to think about completely differently to northern Botswana. In the summer months, where the Kalahari gets its little bit of rain, and we're talking about 150 mils, all of 15 centimeters, it's nothing, it's 3 or 4 showers a year. That is the brief time of super productivity in the Kalahari. So between the months of December and the end of March, I would be very happy for you to start with the Okavango Delta and end with the Kalahari, because you can end off with a high on a wildlife experience down in the Kalahari. And in the dry season, then from April through to the end of November, I'd suggest for you to start in the Kalahari and work your way up into the Okavango Delta.
Amazing. And we've got a final question. Would Mokoro rides still be possible at Kanana in September, October?
Yes, this year we will be able to do it, although it is getting a little sketchy. The water didn't come down as much down the western side of the delta as what we would have thought. I do think as it currently stands, we will be able to offer the Mokoro. The only proviso I would state for you is if we believe that doing Mokoro is dangerous due to hippos being around, we will then close the Mokoro activity, but it's too early for us to say that right now.
Amazing, thank you. And we've got one more question here. For a wildlife photographer interested in big cats, what is the best time to visit the Kalahari?
So because we've got the pumped water holes down there, you generally would be best served to see the cats in the dry season, when you can, I mean, in the dry season, all the grasses start to lie flat and you can see further into the bush, makes it easier to spot as well as photograph. But then the beauty about having those pumped water holes is that from those hides, you can get the guests down into the hides on an afternoon basis and also the early mornings, and that's when the cats come in to drink. So you'll be able to not only photograph them from the actual vehicles itself, but you'll be able to photograph them from the hides. And getting that low aspect for the hides is key.
Awesome.
I see a question over there, Alice, from Andreas Brown with regards to the renovation of Kanana.
In the chat. Oh, yes, yeah, in the chat.
I thought I'd just quickly answer that one. Yes. Thanks for the question, Andreas. And you do have the habit of asking me the best questions to catch me. So we are completely renovating Kanana, and that is happening in a closure period for Kanana, which goes from the 10th of January through to the end of February. I am very excited to also mention, although it hasn't been launched yet, but since I'm talking to some people, I thought I'd say it. We've discovered another 8 beds on our lease over there, and it's an incredibly popular area in the Delta. So we are going to be building an annexed small camp alongside Kanana, which will be known as Kanana Enclave, and that will commence at the same time.
Amazing.
So the refurb will be done in Feb.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you. I think we've got through all the questions. We will be yeah, we will be sending out the presentation and the recording as a follow-up. So if there's anything you think you've missed, you do feel free to rewatch it. And also please do pop through any questions you might think of after the fact to the Small Marketing team, to Kim or Bui, or anyone on either teams. Will be very happy to help with some more questions. But thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And we'll see you all again next week. I think we've got another webinar next Wednesday. So thank you so much.
Thanks very much, everybody. It was lovely being with you.